Okay, so I know a lot of these videos have been philosophical, they're off the cuff, they're whatever I'm thinking, so on and so forth. But this one I want to make a little bit more educational for people that are curious about what all they should and could have in a kill kit. There's a very loud bird outside. Okay, so the first thing that you want to go with is going to be your legal requirement for whatever you might have to hunt in a particular area. So this would be licenses and tags and so forth. This is going to be one of the most important things that you can have in your kill kit. This makes you legal. You have to have these in order to hunt, and they're pretty serious about immediately after you've harvested. Basically, whenever you've shot anything, you want to punch this tag immediately. I know that if you were if you were to shoot something, yay, cool, and then you want to get to work, you want to harvest it up and everything else, and by the time you get back to the truck, you forgot all about the tag because it's been so much work and everything else, and then Fish and Game or another official will show up and be like, show me your tag, and you're like, here you go, and it's not punched, boom, that got you, so you make sure that you try and punch these tags, and that'll basically just be saying the day and the month, and make sure that you've harvested the animal and that it's signed and everything else. So tags first and foremost. The next most important thing that I can think that you would need, because you're really not going to get much of anywhere in a kill kit without it, are going to be knives. I've got several different kinds of knives that I actually have in my kit. I don't use this saw very much because of how it is that I harvest the animals. Most of the time I do what's called a gutless quarter, where I basically just start cutting the meat off and I leave the guts in place, which sort of turns into, wow, okay, just about everything around the guts are off of it, and the guts start to swell up and you just roll them out of place. But I haven't needed to use the saw that much. So this saw that's in here is not really something that I'm going to use very often. But I still have it in my kit because you never know when you might need to saw through something while harvesting a big game animal. These other knives that I have in here are pretty sweet. I know that there's some like more expensive knives and things like that out there. But I like these little cheap ones, man. Because if I jack them up, if I lose them or whatever else, I'm like, oh dang, I'm out $10, instead of, oh dang, I'm out 500. And I've had more expensive ones with replaceable blades and things, and those are very difficult to work with when you're trying to replace a blade and the handle of the blade is full of whatever viscera from the animal that you're trying to harvest. So trying to swap that blade out midway is very, very difficult. I don't use the gut hook a ton, but I will end up using it, even though I use what they would call the gutless quarter again. And then, so the next guy here is just one that is similar to this. Oops. That a little bit smaller than the other guy. But I use this one too for different kinds of cuts and things like that I'm doing. I'm not going to lie, this guy right here, pretty much my go-to all the way around. This type and style of blade, this curve that it has on it, I'm being very careful because these are wicked sharp. I also really like this guy. This one is probably one of my favorite, especially for skinning and the first part of whatever I'm going to be doing. There's a little guy on there. Okay. So what I'll do is, like, this is a little bit more ergonomic coming across like that than it would be if I was trying to turn like this and come over. Either way works, and don't get me wrong, as long as I've got something to cut with, I'm pretty much going to make it happen. I'm going to put all these back, obviously, at the end. Okay, so after you're punched your tag and you've started to scan and process the animal, however it is that you're going to do that, the next thing you're going to need to do is probably going to start bagging things up. And that would be the next most important thing that you can have in your kill kit are going to be bags. There's 4 bags in here, which I've found with these big game animals, whether it's a caribou or moose, that a lot of times you want to lighten the load of each bag. So I use 6 bags, and I reuse these bags. They're the best way I can describe it is kind of like a pillowcase with a drawstring on it. And I've even seen people use pillowcases before when they're processing or bagging up their animal. Something to keep it clean and hopefully pretty dry, because that is your food. You are going to be eating it. So that's something you need to think about. Okay, so those are going to be the single most important things. The tags, the knives, and the bags. If you have nothing else in your kill kit, I would at least go for that. Now, the next most important thing that I would say that you could put in your kill kit would be a first aid kit. And I have kind of my own first aid kit, which I can get into in a different video and everything. But I have quick clot and things like that, just military background makes me more comfortable using that kind of stuff. So I have a whole military personal first aid kit. It's an individual first aid kit. They call it an IFAK. I have one of those. I'm not going to get into all that right now, but I have things that I know that I will use. And I'm not saying that this is the perfect way to go for a first aid kit. I just know that when I order a first aid kit online and it's got 300 items, and like a lot of those are like a Q-tip or something. Sure, it's useful in a specific scenario, but what I find more useful are going to be different items than that. So again, I'll get into all that in a different video. The next big thing that I've found, and these are just suggested things, are going to be bug spray. Nothing is more annoying when you're trying to quarter up a big game animal than 8,000 mosquitoes come and see what the show is all about. So I have mosquito repellent bug spray, whatever, in my kill kit. The other thing I found, and this was just from experience, was that quartering up a big game animal, even in the wintertime, there is a lot of heat coming off of it, and it is a lot of heavy work. And so you will work up a thirst. I mean, it is something that I would strongly suggest having water in your kill kit. Now, I mean, you might say, well, okay, I already have that anyway, because if I'm out hiking, I've got water. Great, that's perfect. No argument there. Same thing with some food. This is just something like, hey, you're expending that many calories. It could be late at night. It could be at a mealtime. And all of a sudden you're dropping an extra 1,000 calories of doing hard work trying to get a big game animal quartered up in bags and then even hauled away from the kill site, which is very important. And I'll talk about that later. Okay, so other important things that I've found, especially when you're talking about long distance, is going to be your rangefinder. This is the rangefinder I have, and I really enjoy it. It doesn't do all the things that some rangefinders do in conjunction with your scopes and things, but for me, this is great. I know the distance to the animal, and that is enough that I can adjust my ballistics and the trajectory, hopefully, of the round so that I can actually harvest one of these guys. I'll go into that more in a future video. Okay, so other important things, and I've got this right in the center so that I don't forget it, because I will, are going to be a hatchet. Now, I've used hatchets like this to go through, depending on the area that you're on and then the regulations for that area. You might have, different requirements for the meat that you're supposed to take and how it is supposed to be on or off the bone. So depending on where you are here in Alaska, there could be requirements where they want you to have the ribs taken out. Don't debone the ribs. Well, it is kind of a pain in the butt to try and get one of these without just completely destroying it through the ribs. I'm sure that you can do it. There's a small amount of cartilage and everything, but I find that I dull up my blade really quickly. So what I like to do is I just just kind of brute strength it to a certain degree, but you use the hatchet and whack, whack, whack through the ribs like that, and they just come right off the spine. Very, very helpful to have that. What I've also found is that if you need to leave your kill for some reason, and you don't want every predator within 100 miles smelling it, what you can do is you can use a hatchet like this to chop down some little branches or some little trees, and you get those and you cover the animal with those branches and some little trees and things like that. And it helps keep the smell down. You really wouldn't be able to get those very easily without just going, whack, 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 grabbing some branches and throwing it on top of it. And that way it keeps the smell down, keeps your kill just a little bit safer. Now, Fish and Game here in Alaska will suggest that you try and move all of the meat bags at least 100 yards from the kill site, because those guts and all the blood and everything that are there do attract a lot of predators. So do that in conjunction with covering it up with some branches. Okay, so this is just kind of a me thing too, but I also bring an extra sweater or something. A lot of times, whatever it is that you used to move the meat bags or whatever else that you got, it could have gotten bloody, could have gotten sweaty, or it could have just got cold because you were headed back from camp and you didn't think that you were going to need a sweater, and then all of a sudden you get lucky, you harvest something and you're like, this is great, and the temperature has gone down 20 degrees since the sun has set. So it's really nice to be able to have an extra sweater as well, just something, a jacket, whatever, to keep you a little bit warmer once the work is all done. So I'm running out of time here, and this is the basics of what you would need in a kill kit. I'm going to make all this fit in my cool little bag here, which there's a million different kinds of bags, but I like this one because I'm able to attach my sweater on the outside. I can put the hatchet on the outside for easy access. And I'm going to put the majority of things inside of here, but I'm also going to put my tags. Oh my goodness, I almost forgot something too. Here's one last thing. Sorry, everybody, because I was thinking, what all do I put in the top there? I also put my extra ammunition in there. Long story, if you've ever watched some of the first series of videos as to why I would bring extra bullets, but there's a history there. Also, it's important that you, unless you've got it memorized or printed off somewhere, bring a box so that you can take a look at what the ballistics of your particular ammunition are going to be. Okay, sorry about the distraction there right at the end, but that's why I do a quick recap. Okay, so again, tags, bags, knives, most important things, hatchet, extra food, water, first aid kit, rangefinder, sweater, and have something to put it all in, and that makes up my kill kit. Hopefully this was really useful information. Look, if you're a new hunter and you're trying to figure out what to put in there, this is probably a great place to start. And if you're an experienced hunter and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's completely forgetting something that is super vital, drop something in the comments section and let me know, like, hey man, you really ought to put this, and don't tell people not to put that, and I'm like, okay, we'll all learn together. I'm all about it. Okay, so I'm gonna get off and start hunting now, or at least try and look for a good place to do that. But thanks, and good luck out there, and wish me luck too.